people who are donating the money are donating a fuck ton of money to Alabama, to LSU, to Clemson, to all the big schools. And Wisconsin doesn't have that kind of shit.
I agree.
Yeah, they don't have that clout. So
I agree. Hopefully they do someday. Here's my thing: is we need to get a Teddy Kellner fund or Ted Kellner, the finance guy.
Okay,
it's like a multimillionaire, huge We need to get somebody like that to start. He's part of that naming society. That like 11 of them. What was it? 8 of them or 11 of them? They call themselves a naming society. Whatever they donate, they name the buildings. And Kellner's all over the Cole Center. He's all over, the gate we go in for my tickets at Camp Randall? Huh. That's called Kellner Gate now.
Okay.
They just name shit.
Is there a Kellner Center?
I don't know. I know there's a Kellner Hall.
Is the Fetzer Center still there?
Yeah, but I don't think it's Fetzer anymore. I don't know. It's not where it was. Whatever. Yeah,
I'll get a tour of that place. It's been a long time.
Yeah. No shit. We should do that this winter, maybe.
I agree.
Sounds good.
It's been too long.
Should we get rolling?
Let's rock and roll.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
And Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way in Eau Claire. Our favorite pizza in the state of Wisconsin. They have frozen pizzas and pizza buffets. And Joe, I got to tell you, when you went to Cabin Coffee, you sounded like a paid professional. Your voice got so soft and so smooth, like you were like in a jazz ensemble.
Jazz ensemble.
Listen, it's just, I got to get you fired up. You just sound very like
lethargic today.
Not lethargic. No. It's like the bass in your voice. It's just hitting right at the right tone.
I think I'm hitting my 14th series of puberty. That's probably what's going on, Bill. Well, hey, I want to give a shout out to somebody, to your son, Chris.
Okay.
And DC Everest Evergreens. They are moving right along through the playoffs. They had an amazing win here last week against the
Madison Memorial.
And now they are.
Hopefully, by the time people are listening to this, that they kicked Wanakee's ass. Yep. And I really think between their offensive line, their running game, their defense, the way they've been lighting people up, and special teams just controlling the field of possession, they've been doing some phenomenal things, so it's exciting to watch.
And even though you're an asshole in real life, Chris is, as a freshman, 14 years old, second team all-conference in my alma mater, and that's not easy at all, and kudos to him. I know he's working his ass off and doing a great job, but and you're not going to say that, but he is doing phenomenal.
Well, I appreciate it. It's been fun for us to watch, family, friends, everybody that's a part of his life, just fun to watch. And one of our very special dedicated listeners, his name is Caden. I'm sorry.
You know his very special listener, you don't know his fucking name?
I had a brain fart there. Caden reached out to me, and I think he gave me and us a great idea for us in the future to start interviewing high school athletes. Now, granted, we're not interviewers. We're more storytellers and opinionated people, but I think it's something we might do in the future. Maybe we start off little by little, and I told him maybe he comes on the show because his younger brother happens to be the star running back for the DC Everest Evergreens right now. So it might be something, and I will get his name right when he comes on the show. Sorry about that, Caden. But yeah, something for us to look forward to in the future with the many other things we got going on, the travel that we're going to start planning, getting more teammates and former Badgers and NFL players on the show, just getting their opinion. Our episode of the life transition from football to the real world really took off. A lot of people liked what we had to say in it. And I think one of the interesting things would be I know Caden listened to it, have high school kids listen to it. And what are their thoughts on it? Do they see those skills coming up immediately, or is it something that maybe we overlooked and didn't realize those skills benefited us until we got to closer to the age we're at now, as opposed to year 1 or year 2 being done with football.
And I just don't think that you think about it because you're in your day-to-day life. It's just been in your toolbox.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Like, and then when you
show
actually
up early to be on time.
And when you actually sit back and think about like, why did I develop this? These habits, which are positive, most of them. I still have like severe anxiety from like being late.
Yep.
all the time, and we discuss that. But that is something that I will never ever get over. So, but
one of the big episodes too was, or not even episode, the snippet was about you talking about injuring yourself as opposed to being like purposely injuring yourself, as opposed to showing a plate, was one of the most. I think it was the second most watched video that we have on YouTube right now.
And I stand by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This day, my opinion about that has not changed. I would run my ass into a wall on a scooter or a motorcycle and put myself out of commission.
I 100% agree with you. And speaking of scooters, I think something else I forgot to mention to you that I know we have access to a scooter. I think one of these days maybe we won't ride it because we don't want to physically damage the scooter. But I think we both need to get on it to show people what piggybacking on a one-person scooter looks like from afar. So we'll set the camera up down a little bit of a distance. We'll hop on it. I'll hold you snug from behind.
Yeah.
And I'll just say giddy up.
And I do think, it's all, honestly, from the movie Dumb and Dumber, although I'm going to age ourselves, that's literally what it looked like. Only there was much fatter people on there.
Yes. And during the winter, you got to put those feet on the ground for skis.
Absolutely.
Make sure it doesn't tip over. Well, in this episode, we're here to talk about name, image, and likeness because it is driving me, at least, insane the way this is going. I know we brought this up on other episodes. I know we've talked about the top 10 in NCAA rankings, how they're some of the highest paid schools right now out there. But just trying to wrap our heads around how this all works. Some of the little bits that we learned over the last week with collectives versus schools paying versus the original rule of name, image, and likeness. So,
and can I just say, this is more homework than I ever saw you do in college. Like the amount of research that you've done on here is impressive.
It's put up or shut up. Like I can't fake this until I make it.
We all know that you're not going to shut up ever.
Exactly. So. Well, and I wasn't going to say, but you sort of did interrupt me right there. Where I was going to, so.
How's it feel?
It's not nice.
It's not nice.
It's not nice. Good. But when I interrupt, I have wonderful things to bring to the show. So here's what I'm going to do. All right, let's start us off with what we found the NCAA rule is, which I think is a fucking joke because nobody's abiding by this whatsoever. So I'm going to read this verbatim. The NCAA's interim policy, which was passed in June of 2021, has 3 main points. 1, athletes can engage in NIL activities if they follow their state's laws, where their school is located. Schools must ensure these activities comply with state law. That's absolute bullshit. We'll explain why. Number 2, athletes in states without NIL laws can still participate in NIL activities without breaking NCAA rules. They obviously do. Point 3, athletes are allowed to seek professional service providers for their NIL activities. Here's my issue with this. What those rules are on the NCAA website, that's the rules of NIL. What's happening in college football right now is basically, I'll say colleges. It's not the actual college, but it's a collective or it's a booster or somebody from the school or associated with the school is paying a player to hire them to play one season for their team. That's what's happening. Right. That has nothing to do with the rules. The only thing that the rule states that is allowed is kids are able to hire marketing people and agents to work for them. That is fouled because it's cut and dry. States without law, I don't think there's any state right now that doesn't allow NIL in college. There are states in high school, and we'll get to high school in a minute.
Yep.
Because that's mind blowing. That we're just wiping amateur right off the map. Like when we were in school, and I've spoke with people that were older than us that were athletes in college. And they both agreed we weren't allowed to bag groceries at the grocery store during the season, or we would lose our scholarship.
Correct.
And during the off season, we were only allowed to work. And this is working a job. This isn't getting paid. We were only allowed to work so many hours, or we'd lose our scholarship. Now, where the NCAA bent us over the table and abused us was we were in a football game, which just recently came back out because now NIL is legal. Was NCAA college football, which was a college video game that was played on PlayStation. I think it was just PlayStation at the time. And it was number 73 for the Badgers, number 60 for the Badgers. The running back was number 33, happened to be a black guy. The left guard, number 60, happened to have a tattoo on his left arm, happened to have a black goatee. Everything was our name. It wasn't our name. They used our image and our likeness.
Right.
And because our name wasn't on the back of the jersey, they said that's why we weren't able to get paid because it was not us on the video game. It was us. We were the biggest line on the video game. We were the best offensive line with the best running back in the whole video game. It was us. The NCAA didn't allow us to get paid. Now it's, I think the best, for instance, and there's a lot of schools in the top 10 that are making a shitload of money, that are giving a shitload of money to athletes. But Ohio State's the biggest one that's out there publicly. They pay $20 million a year for their football team.
$20 million a year.
$20 million.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Is that for like equipment, for helmets, for cleats, for shoulder pads, or is that just
for the bodies?
Just for the bodies.
It's a salary cap. It's a professional salary cap in college sports.
That's
so their booster club has compiled $20 million a year. Oh. Their booster club, their collectives that generate money, and they have a pool of $20 million to spend to put a football team together.
Hey, Bill, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you have the numbers for Wisconsin, by chance, or have any idea what Wisconsin?
So Wisconsin is very hard to find. So on here it says schools can't pay. I do believe that rule has changed. Schools, I believe, are allowed to pay now. What I found on the internet was Wisconsin pays, I think, upwards of $960 per athlete per year.
Per year.
Which comes out to maybe, I'm trying to think, there's how many scholarship athletes? 85 scholarship athletes on the team. Let's round it up to 100. It's $100,000.
Okay.
So just under $100,000. It's $85,000.
Okay.
They're quick math.
Look at you.
85 grand is what we pay, and we have a graduation bonus that if you graduate school, they could pay you. It says on the internet upwards of $25,000.
They can, or they will. You think?
It says they can.
Okay.
If they will,
I find it ironical that they would pay you $25,000 to graduate when.
I think that's like a carrot in the stick type deal. Like, let's show them the carrot that if they come here, they'll get 25 grand. But that's 600 grand a year.
Yeah.
That the schools pay. Now, granted, we do have a collective, which we'll also talk about that. There's no numbers on the collective.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, honestly, are we paying between our collective and all that stuff? Are we even amassing $2.5 million, $5 million? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But now, why is this important, Bill? Because how many times have we heard, Wisconsin never gets any good quarterbacks. They never get like the Russell Wilson, who was a flash in the. I mean, we were so blessed to have him for a season.
You say flash in, you were going to say flash in.
Yeah,
you say that because he was only there for 1 year, right? Not because it was a 1 year.
Not because it was a 1 year deal.
He was there for his grad year.
Yeah, so I was just trying to just make sure
and that was the scenario too. Which today's episode is about NIL, but that brings up another thing: transferring. And that was the Russell Wilson deal. When we were in school, and even after us, to transfer Division I, which I don't know what kind of bullshit they call it now, FCS or whatever, top college, blah, blah, blah. But it was Division 1A to Division 1A, you had to sit out a year. The reason we got him was he graduated from, I think, North Carolina State, and he was a graduate, came here as a post-grad, and if you're a post-grad, you don't have to sit out a year.
Right.
That was the glitch in the system back then. Now, I think there's upwards of 5,000 kids in the transfer portal. Right. And who that affects is high school kids now, because who wants to, and I know we're going down the tangent on transfer, but who wants to recruit a high school kid when you can recruit a sophomore, like say a sophomore lineman that he knows how to go to school, he knows how to do the business of football, he knows how to watch tape, he knows what not to do, as opposed to I'm going to take a chance on a 3-star or a 4-star kid who's 18 years old, who's been living with mommy and daddy his whole life. Right. And now he's going to be on his own. Is he going to party? Is he going to show up for school? Is he going to wake up? Is he going to watch film? Where you put a kid out of the transfer portal, you already know his background. You could talk to other college coaches. Does the kid do his job?
Right.
Maybe the kid's in the portal because he wasn't a starter, but he could be a starter on your team.
And not only that, you get a better look on film because now you're watching every film, every practice, and the film is much better. So you're not just getting the highlight tape.
Yes.
Like your dad made a highlight tape for you with the 2 VCRs. Now you're actually you are seeing real time what you are getting from your players.
Yes.
And what's available. So I do agree with you on that. And let's look at Wisconsin as a whole. Like Coach Alvarez built a wall around Wisconsin. Like very few people ever trickled out of Wisconsin. Me, one of them. I think we had 6 people from my conference my senior year that went on and played for the Badgers. But if we can't have that kind of money in Wisconsin, and I'm a high school player, and I have the ability to make a lot of money just based on my high school performance.
Yep.
Holy shit, Bill.
Yep.
The world is my oyster. Whoever wants to pay me the most, your loyalty to your state, to you, is non-existent right now because it's freaking money.
There's no,
because now it is more of a business now than it ever has.
Yes.
And see, I always said I watch college football because it's the most purest form of football. That's what I always said.
Yes.
And now it's not true.
Exactly.
Because now it's just
it's a business.
Now it's a business. It has always been a business, but it wasn't so much in your face. Obviously, we knew that the school was making money, and everybody was making a crap ton of money based on what we did, and in our name, and our likeness, and our image, and how we performed on the field. I almost feel like I was okay with that because it was for the betterment of the team,
and it was even. Every school now, maybe a Wisconsin made more money than Montana State,
right?
But on the football field, we were even because we got the same scholarship check.
Yep.
We were allowed to practice the same hours. We traveled the same way.
Correct.
Everything else was even.
Hey, Bill, when you think of Christmas, what do you think of?
You in a Santa suit trying to squeeze your big ass down my chimney?
That is the most disturbing thing I've ever heard.
I don't know. Christmas trees, presents, snowmen, candy canes?
Candy canes. The drink of the month in December is the candy cane mocha. It's a double shot of espresso, white chocolate, peppermint syrup, milk, whipped cream, and crushed candy canes.
Sounds good. Not as good as you in a Santa suit trying to squeeze down my chimney.
Come on down to Cabin Coffee Altoona and get yourself a candy cane mocha. What is wrong with you?
We're now, honestly, college is 10 times more a business than the NFL. And the reason I say that, the NFL is a salary cap. So in the NFL, and I don't know what the salary cap is right now. We should have looked that up before we started. But the NFL, let's just say the NFL salary cap is, I'm going to get made fun of for this, but say it's $75 million a year.
Okay.
It's more than that. I'm crazy here. But whatever, say it's $200 million a year. You only have $200 million to spend. Every team has the same amount of money.
Right.
You either spend it or you don't spend it, save it for the future, whatever.
Right.
But that's it. In college, like we said, Ohio State's spending $20 million a year. If Wisconsin's only spending $2.5 million a year, there's a disparity. It's not even.
I agree.
You're spending more money to get better players over here. You're only able to spend this much money over here. There's this disparity in the fairness of the game.
I agree. So now for example, this current season that we're in, Fickell's second season, you know what? Yeah, tough-ass schedule, right? Very tough schedule.
Yeah.
But now the guys that we're playing, the Penn States of the world, the Alabamas of the world, they're paying their players significantly more money and paying top dollar for top athletes, and we are not competing with that because we don't have the funds to do that.
Joe,
I'm not going to freaking only make $90 or $100 or because I'm loyal to a state that doesn't know who I am.
Like I said, you're loyal to your family.
Absolutely.
Like if you have the opportunity to pay off your parents' house or to get your parents a house,
right? If
you're not in a house, imagine that. Like we grew up on the lower end of arguably poor, but there's people that didn't even have houses,
right?
That were in apartments or whatever. To be able to provide for your family, there's zero loyalty to a school at that point.
Zero.
And even, which we'll dig down a little bit more, but high school has NIL now. So now here's an interesting fact. I know it's a state you don't like, but I'm going to bring them up because they're bordering. I'm going to bring them up. I won't say the name, but Wisconsin right now today does not allow NIL.
Right.
The bordering shit state does allow NIL.
I know.
So now let's say you have a 5-star phenomenal kid in Wisconsin as an 8th grader. Why not move that kid? Why not up and move to Minnesota?
Yep.
And that kid could be making a boatload of money in Minnesota as a high school quarterback and then go to a college that's going to pay him the most money.
Yep.
And boom, that career's starting at 14 years old, potentially.
Correct.
Chances are most high school kids aren't making serious money until they're really good or until their junior, senior year. But there's the possibility. We had a kid, and anybody listening from my hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania, Ron Paulus was a quarterback for Notre Dame. Ron Paulus, I believe, grew up in Ohio. And this was when in high school you weren't allowed to recruit this and that. We had one of the top schools in the country about an hour outside of Scranton. It was called Berwick High School. They always ranked in the top 10 nationally. And all of a sudden, Ron Powell's freshman year of high school, he's the quarterback of Berwick. And there was 2 factories in Berwick, Pennsylvania. There was a power plant and a potato chip factory. His mom automatically had a job at the potato chip factory. Dad had a job at the power plant. Ron Powell's played 4 years at Berwick. I think won 1 or 2 national titles because they just voted on it back then. And Ron Powell went on to quarterback for the University of Notre Dame. And it was a blatant recruiting deal.
Right.
And it was illegal, but everybody knew how it happened, why it happened, but it just got swept under the rug. Where today, what's stopping somebody from moving? Because they're moving for money. They're not even moving to just go play for a better team.
Right.
They're moving because it's like, hey, Joe, if you come to the shit state, we could get you $150,000 worth of deals.
Huh.
You know, it's a no-brainer. Think about you coming out of high school when you did if you came out today.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Based off of what I see on the internet, you're minimum a $500,000 guy.
Right.
Coming out of high school at 18 years old.
Yep.
Minimum. Come to my school, we're starting a negotiation at $500,000.
And you can't
might even be more than that.
And you can't tell me for me to be able to relieve the pressure off my family.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would move.
How long would it take our families to make $500,000?
I would move to the shit state, Bill.
Yes, exactly.
And I choke on those words, but I would.
Yeah, and we've talked about this off camera. If NIL was a factor when we were playing, like Coach Alvarez said, and this is the one thing I think I would, if me and you probably weren't so nervous like we were going into that Coach Alvarez interview, I would have pushed back more where Coach said that's on coaches to have that loyalty with players. And I agree with him to a point, but like we're going to talk about with Nick Saban, I don't think there is that ability.
Nope.
I mean, there is nobody as loyal players to a coach as University of Wisconsin Badgers were to Coach Alvarez.
Agreed.
But if somebody that's making $700 a month in a scholarship check that has to pay for rent, bills, food, and try and have a little bit of money left over for fun, gets offered, 25, 50 grand a month.
Yeah.
We're bouncing.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And again, I can't argue and say the day of where's the loyalty? Because, I mean, and you hear this, athletes that leave for the pros early, right? Because they have the opportunity to make some money. And the general population is like, I can't believe that they would leave. I can't believe that there's no loyalty. That they
didn't stay for their degree.
Or for their senior year. And I'm going, are you out of your bloody mind?
Yeah. I laugh at that because people just – it's so black and white that they don't get it. They just don't get – this is somebody that – I love hearing it from people that are like 25 years into their career.
Right.
That their career is going to be there until the day they decide to retire with their retirement fund. And whether it's a garbage man, a teacher, a businessman, whatever it is, saying, why didn't that kid stay and get his degree? Or why didn't that kid stay for the rest of his team and play his senior year? Oh, because he's going to make $12 million next year in the NFL.
Correct.
And if he breaks his leg in the NFL, he has $12 million.
And let me ask you this. If you break your leg your senior year or you have a career-ending knee injury, you don't get that money.
You get that.
Yeah.
You get nothing.
Yeah. You get a freaking cripple that's, working his ass off to run a business and raise a family, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
So, again, the loyalty to the state where you grew up, it comes down to money, and that's why you say it's such a business now, and it's always been a business, but now it's a blatant business.
Yes.
It's in your face. How much can I get from whoever's ever recruited me? What's the dollar amount?
Yeah. And I know we went off on the NCAA last episode, I think, or the episode before last, but another reason why I fucking hate the NCAA, because they go from so many fucking rules to now I hate to say it, they're a bunch of pussies that they can't fucking say this is wrong. And listen, I love that kids are getting taken care of, but you are going to destroy this sport the direction you're going. You're going to destroy all of football because you're beginning to destroy high school football by allowing this. You're going to destroy college football. And in turn, I think you're going to destroy professional football in the NFL level, because I think if we don't start capping this and putting regulations on it, I mean, hey, I think a kid making $1 million is enough in college, or a kid making $500,000 a year is enough in college. Eventually, why would these college kids want to play in the NFL? Yeah, you're going to have the elites that say, I want to be the best.
Right.
I want my name going down in history. I want to wear the gold jacket. I want to be a Hall of Famer. You're going to have those. And you're going to have a lot of them with the diehards. But the smart ones, we've seen in our era and the era following us, kids, and I say kids because football players are young. They're not, like old for a football player is 30, early 30s. That's old. The Aaron Rodgers, the Brett Favres, they're in their 40s. That's a grandpa playing.
Right.
That's a rarity that you'll probably never see again. I lost myself here, but you're losing the sport. College kids, if they make $10 million in their college career, if I made $10 million in college, I'm done.
Right.
Because I would put myself on $100,000 a year budget, and I would never spend the money and just have it and just be like, I'm going to travel the world and do whatever the hell I want.
So let me ask you this. You're not mad at the athletes for making money in the
I'm not mad at them one bit.
Not at all.
No.
See, that's the thing.
Absolutely.
People understand. Good for them. Yeah. Good for them because for how many years we've been used as.
Yep. They bent us over the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
they bent us over the table. The schools bent us over the table. Everybody was making money except for us.
Correct.
Athletes were the only ones that didn't make money.
Right.
Now, I don't even know how to describe it, but now they let the floodgates open, thinking this is the best thing they could do. And yes, it was a good thought before. So when did it start? June of 2021. I'm going backwards. May of 2021. It was a great idea. The idea they had was great, but you need to put some sort of rules in place, regulations in place. Like they say, name, image, and likeness.
Right.
You can't just have here's the next thing with college. Michigan, so LSU has a quarterback commit. I think he's a 4 or 5 star quarterback committed to LSU. And I think he's getting, over the course of 3 to 4 years, $3.5 million. Michigan is debating upping that NIL deal to $5 million to this kid to have him be a Michigan quarterback. $5 million over the course of 3 to 4 years, they're going to offer him from their NIL collective. So that's the money that the whatever you want to call it, the school or the booster club or whoever because we don't even really know, like you said, who's paying them? Where's the money coming from?
Right.
This just isn't out there to be seen. A lot of schools aren't putting it out there. One, there's no transparency. Right. So like we talked about, I think Arch Manning this past year was making like $4 million just for this past year as a backup. As a backup. Which is crazy.
Because of the, I mean, and granted, he may have had a great high school career, so good for him, but a lot of that has to go with his last name. Like, let's be honest. It's the bloodline.
Yes, it does. And he's marketable and stuff, and I'm sure the family's pushing deals to him. But look at this. Let's just go off of last year, which would be 2023 season. So Arch Manning made $2.8 million as a backup in 2023. The starting quarterback only, and now shitload of money, but the starter only made $1.9 million. Arch Manning made $900,000 more than the starter. Yeah. How about even little things like that, like adversity, or not adversity? I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but you basically become adversaries in the locker room where there's got to be animosity there. I'm using a bunch of or adjectives here. I don't know, but animosity is the ultimate word I was getting at. Is the starter's making $1 million less than the backup?
Yeah.
Where does that happen?
And like you have this brotherhood in playing sports when we played. Like, is there a wedge that happens in those relationships? Because there has to be.
Or even think about, let's even forget about the third or fourth string quarterback at Texas, which is probably making $50,000 or a couple $100,000.
Right.
That quarterback room, as of 2023, had to be over $5 million in that quarterback room just for 2023. What about the linemen that are sacrificing every day? And hey, so when this episode airs, this is going to be a while ago. But how about Richardson, the quarterback from the Indianapolis Colts in the NFL?
Okay.
Tapping to get out of the game. Taps on his fucking helmet like he's a fat D lineman in a 2-deep defensive rotation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired. I ran the last 3 plays. I'm like, motherfucker. Your old linemen are out there for 65 plays, busting their ass every single play. You're going to tap out?
Tap out.
Oh, my God. Like, I don't even know where to begin with that.
I don't know.
Okay, he's 20, and I love the people that are like, oh, he's only 22 years old. He's a young kid. He's a professional.
No shit.
I think he was the 4th pick overall in the NFL draft.
Oh.
Like, Joe, we got to teach. Like, now the Colts, they have to be saying in their coach's meeting room, we got to teach these fuckers you can't tap out of a game.
Yeah. Because you're tired.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, we're all linemen. We go up against D linemen every day in practice, or did. We saw D linemen tap out all the time. No. We knew we're not allowed to do that. No, we're not allowed. Only if we're winning by a lot or losing by a lot do we get called out of a game.
Correct.
We don't get to tap out and be like, hey, coach, we're playing Boise State or San Diego State. Hey, coach, we're up by 30. I'm coming out. No, fuck that. I mean,
I wouldn't have the balls to even suggest that.
No. I wouldn't even have the balls to lie about it and fake like, oh, I'm sick or whatever. Could I come out? And you would still be asking. Yeah. Even if you were going to fake it, but you wouldn't even go. You might think about that during the week. Like, if we're up by a lot, maybe I'll. But you're not. You don't have the balls to do it. No. This motherfucker tapped out of a regular season NFL game
because he was tired.
Oh my god! Just think about that shit in the locker room.
Yeah,
dude. Like Joe, and I know it's the NFL, and that dude's making a lot of money. Right there, you got to be a professional. You have to act like a professional. But right there, if you got some old and there were. I don't know about today because I think football's changed as a whole today from what we were used to. But when I came out of football, there were different teams, and I was blessed with the Packers. There wasn't a lot of hazing and stuff like that. It was pretty mellow, and it was more like, let's grow and let's get better as a group, and that's what you guys looked at. But there were teams, I don't want to say names. I'll tell you after the show. I'll just say the team. It was Detroit. I think it was Detroit, and there was another team. But I'll say a bunch of players that were distantly related that came from the same area played throughout the NFL, and they were assholes. Dude, if they were linemen, and they were mostly offensive linemen, if they were linemen on the Indianapolis Colts, I think they code red that motherfucker.
Yep.
I think they beat – and part of me was like, I think he deserved it. I think somebody should have fucking given him a belly shot and fucking made him puke for 2 hours.
Yep.
Because how the fuck do you do that to your team?
I don't understand where the loyalty is. The commitment to the team, because it's only you on the field. Bill, you have guys that try to crawl back to the huddle because they don't want to leave their guys.
Yeah.
You were knocked unconscious on the bloody field, snoring.
Unconscious. You brought up the other day, I'm hitting the mic, I'm getting so worked up here. You brought up stingers.
Yeah, oh yeah.
How about stingers? How about going back to the huddle with a fucking spaghetti noodle for a fucking arm?
Right.
You couldn't even, you're hoping it's your off arm that you don't have to put on the ground because it's going to be flopping around on the ground like a dead fish.
Yep.
We stayed in the fucking game. This guy was tired because he ran on 3 plays.
Yeah.
We had Ron Dane that we used to rush freaking 42 times a game in college. Right. Did the coaches pull him out at times?
Yeah.
But he never walked
But he never said, hey, pull me out.
Tap the helmet and I got to come out. Yeah. No, it just doesn't happen. There's one position group that's allowed. It's defensive line because 95% of teams run a 2 deep and they rotate constantly on the D line because they're big guys. They want to keep them healthy, fast, fresh, come off the ball fresh, be able to stop the run, be able to rush the quarterback. That's the only group that it's understood they rotate.
Right.
Nobody else fucking rotates.
No.
Can you imagine Joe Flacco? And Joe Flacco's, I think, in his early to mid-40s as the backup in Indianapolis. Can you imagine Joe Flacco sitting on the sidelines? Probably didn't even have his helmet in hand.
Right.
And sees the starter, who's a rookie, who's probably making $15 million this year, tap his helmet and start jogging off the. Joe's probably where the hell's my helmet?
Yeah, well, shit. I even warm up.
At least go down with the whole. We won't even get into the fake and injury deal on this episode. I know my cousin Eric's hounding me. Eric Arcuri, he needs us to talk about it, and we will at some point. But the fake and injury deal, at least fake an injury and give Flacco 2 throws on the sidelines and be all right, what's the next play? This dude just taps his head and jogs the sidelines. Right. Speaking of that, I know we're NIL. This episode is going to be called NIL, but I got 2 more things, and we can address it as we want. Chicago Bears. I'll go really quick through. There's 2. There might be 3. So 2 deals with the Bears. 1, the fucking dipshit with the Hail Mary. 4.1 seconds. He's looking at the fucking crowd. Joe, 4.1 seconds while the play's going on. Yeah. He's staring at the crowd, flapping his fucking gums.
Taunting and doing
Then we all know on defense with a Hail Mary, everyone's got a job. The guys in the middle, they're doing a jump ball like basketball. Guy up front's defending the tip to the front. Guy in back, who happens to be John of the crowd, is supposed to be defending the guy in back.
Correct.
Our guy, after John of the crowd for 4.1 seconds, runs over, jumps in the middle, tips the ball, which he's not supposed to do, tips it to the guy he's supposed to be defending. They catch a Hail Mary touchdown. The Bears lose the game. I think it's a week later. Dobbs, I think, is the wide receiver, is running a fucking route. I meant to show you this on text. I had the video.
Is he the one that just walked off the field?
He runs about and goes off the field.
His quarterback is scrambling, looking for an open guy, and he walks off the freaking field.
Joe, are you kidding me? What the fuck is going on with football right now?
I don't know. I'm sorry. What team was that they did that?
The Bears. Both of them were the Bears.
I just wanted you to say that for my brother Pat.
Pat, fuck the Bears. Fuck the Bears, Pat. You need to fire the coach that Dobbs, the receiver, is a captain. Fire him. The DB, I think, was a first rounder in his second year. Honestly, at first I was sort of siding with the freaking woke sportscast that was like, oh, maybe they should bench him for the first series of the game. And I was like, yeah, you need to prove a point, but it is a business. At this point, when this season's over and the season's going to shit, their quarterback, Caleb Williams, that they thought was the next, God walking on water, he's talented, but he ain't good.
Nope.
The team sucks. The coaching staff sucks. They need to clean house with the whole coaching staff, and they need to really evaluate their team. Either put them on the trading block and get what you could get for guys, but you can't have a team with one guy that's only playing half the play, then doesn't do his job. The other guy literally runs off the field.
Right.
And what was comical, too, was in the press conference, they asked the coach. Coach goes, I think he hurt his ankle. He's coming up here in 10 seconds. I watched the next video. It's him talking at the press conference. He's like, oh, you didn't know what happened on the field. I hurt my ankle. They show him run to the sidelines in slow motion. There was no limp.
No limping?
No limp whatsoever.
Let me ask you this.
How do you blatantly lie to when you know there's 100?
If you were his teammate.
Code red, motherfucker.
Code red.
I mean,
or if you, as a lineman, the ever pad did lookout block.
Yeah.
Look out.
You'd have to. You'd have to do something to prove a point. I mean, think about it. For fans, we had this deal at Wisconsin. We had exit interviews at the end of the season. And the last question in the exit interview was, if you were in a dark alley, who would you want shoulder to shoulder watching your six if you had a fight in a dark alley? And honestly, it's damn near anybody on the team. But you're trying to think who's the biggest, toughest guy you'd want that you trust the absolute most. But it's everybody on that team you feel comfortable having back-to-back with you, and you would do it for anybody else on your team. This bullshit that's going on, tapping out of games while you're the quarterback. I can't get the fuck over this. The quarterback. That'd be like the head there's so many things I want to say, but I'm trying to be careful with my words. That'd be like a coach taking a shit and forgetting to come out for the second half and just reading the fucking newspaper for the whole second half. Like, it's just like he forgot his job.
He was kind of like the coach on Waterboy when he was heading at halftime to go get a warm pretzel.
Yes.
Because, he's going up against his former colleague that was mean to him. So.
Yes, that exactly.
Hey everybody, Bill Ferrario here, co-host of 217 South Mills. We've been getting a lot of requests, especially from my friends and family down in Florida, and technically people all over the country trying to figure out how to order this cabin coffee. And Joe provided us a way to do it. We've mentioned it on the show before, but I want to give you a little firsthand tutorial on what you're going to do. So right now, you are going to look at the link above and follow me. So you're going to go to Google, you're going to type in Cabin Coffee Altoona. Once you do that, just hit enter. You're going to see the website pop up on whatever search engine you have, Google or whatever. You see it right there. It's at the top, Cabin Coffee Altoona. We're going to click on that. You're going to be on the Cabin Coffee Altoona website. Scroll down to the bottom. You're going to see menus. And in the middle, there's going to be a bean menu. What we're going to do is click on the bean menu, and then you get to see all the different blends and coffees that are available. You're going to pick out what you want if you know right away what you would like to order. After that, remember the email, altoona@cabincoffee.net. altoona@cabincoffee.net. You're going to put that in your email for the two. For the subject line, I just put down coffee order so Joe knows when it comes up, it's a coffee order. You see my name there, Bill Ferrario. For the contact info, I did a dummy phone number because people are reaching out to us like crazy. That's our podcast phone number. And then lastly, you're going to put down what type of coffee blend you'd like. And Joe will take care of it for you. He'll reach out to you, and he'll get the order in the mail. Otherwise, put down what you typically drink, what you're interested in. Joe could talk to you via email or even give you a call and talk you through on what to order. Wish you the best. Enjoy that cabin coffee. Make it a great day.
I mean, it is beyond crazy, the shit that's happened. You can't predict any of this stuff. That Hail Mary, there was so many things that had to go wrong for that play to go right.
Right.
And they all did.
And can I just say, I was so fucking happy that it happened to that guy. because he ran his freaking
Yes.
mouth and was jaw-jacking.
Yes.
Nothing gave me more joy in my life than watching him do that
Yes.
and then watching it.
Yep.
Instant karma is my favorite thing in the world.
And the thing,
I love it.
for the rest of his life, if you Google his name or you bring up his name, that's the only play that people are going to think of. They're not going to know when he was drafted.
Right.
They're not going to know he was a first rounder. Nope. They're not going to know how many years he played. All they're going to know is you're the guy that fucked up the Hail Mary and lost the game.
That's hilarious.
But then Richardson with the Colts, the QB, I don't give a shit if he'll never have a Hall of Fame jacket. People are like, oh, he'll never be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's going to make it more than 7 years in the NFL, and he'll probably be a clipboard quarterback down the road. But that's all they're going to remember him for. You tapped out of an NFL football game.
Because
never happened
you had
before.
3 run plays. I mean, you were tired. I get
never happened before, Joe, and will never happen again. And he did it. And then you got a quarterback or a wide receiver from the same team as the fucked up Hail Mary that runs out of bounds and just gives up on a play. Like, I wish the camera kept going because I think that motherfucker sat on the bench
probably did.
While the play was going. Like, he's probably looking like, why is everybody still running around?
Oh, my quarterback scrambling. I'm about to get killed. Yeah, I'm just going to sit here and let him take it.
It's craziness.
It's insane. I don't understand the mindset there at all, but hey, this is why they make millions of dollars, including in the NIL.
Exactly. All right, so I'm going to try and bring myself.
Did you see how I brought that back around to the NIL? Because holy crap!
Back to the NIL. Did you say NBA?
No, I said NIL.
NIL. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you said NBA. I was like, now we're going to
have to talk about NBA.
We're going to have to talk about concussions. All right.
Is that even a sport?
So let's hit on. No, it is not. Let's hit on the Badgers with this collective. So they have this deal called the Varsity Collective.
Yes.
Once again, not easy to find a ton of information on, but I did find they have a beer that's donating proceeds back to the Varsity Collective. It's from Potosi Brewing Company out of Wisconsin. I think out of Madison.
I don't know. Good question.
But I know they sell the beer at Memorial Union in Madison, and the whole deal is 20% of the Varsity beer collection goes to the Varsity Collective. And somebody on social media actually asked a great question. They go, well, if I buy, which Camp Randall now sells beer, which is very interesting, and I'm sure night games down the road are going to get way out of control because they were out of control.
Well, no, they won't, because they keep on letting the students in single file, and then we get there.
And they finally get there in the fourth quarter, and then they leave after jump around. It's not a big game.
So there you go.
But somebody asked online, does the collective, do athletes benefit more if I buy a Potosi Varsity beer at Camp Randall as opposed to, say, the Regent Street Retreat?
Right.
And the answer, because at Camp Randall, say the beer is $12.50 and at the bar it's $5.50.
Right.
Are the athletes making more off the beer in the stadium?
Great
answer is no. The Varsity Collective makes 20% off the wholesale cost of the beer. So no matter where you buy the beer, no matter how much people mark it up, the athletes are still making the same amount because it's only 20% of the wholesale cost of the beer. But this collective, this is part of the interesting fact of how schools are paying. So Ohio State University is, like we said before, might be paying the athletes something because we did see Wisconsin has the ability to pay the athletes something. But Ohio State University is not shelling out $20 million for the football team. It's the Ohio, whatever their collective is called, which donors are putting into. And it's basically, in my layman's terms, it's like an LLC that everyone's just dumping money into. Then that LLC has the ability to say, Joe, I'm going to give you a check for this much to play for me. So-and-so, I'm going to give you a check for that much to play for me.
But you have to
that's what these collectives
those people, in those positions aren't doing that for free.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
They're getting paid.
I'm sure the president, the director, the vice president, the treasurer, I'm sure everyone's getting paid in it. Just like lawsuits and how all this other bullshit works. Everyone's skimming one way or another from it. But that's one of the collectives there. To touch on the high school thing.
I want to go back to this beer. Really good idea, though.
The beer?
For the state of Wisconsin.
Oh, hell yeah. To have a beer to raise money.
A beer to raise money, and based on the amount of,
absolutely. Everyone's going to have that excuse.
We have the 12 drunkest cities in America.
Yep.
That's actually brilliant on that part. So maybe if we get a couple more people, drinking the Varsity Golden Ale from Potosi. Remember, proceeds go to the NIL. You want to know why we can't win championships? You got to go out there and
get Potosi beer.
Potosi beer. That's what's going to give us the money to do it.
So those other beers down.
Put your money where your mouth is and go out there and drink the beer.
Drink a Potosi. All right. So on the high school level, like we said, Wisconsin, as of right now, the information I found does not allow NIL deals. There are 11 states in the U.S. that it is a no, that do not allow. There's 9 states that are under consideration from the time I pulled this, and there are 30 states that do allow NIL. That goes back to what we talked about earlier. Why, if now, granted, the 2-star, the 3-star, maybe even the 4-star isn't getting that much money. Maybe these kids are getting, for all I know, they could be getting $1,000 per deal. Maybe they're getting $5,000. But I'm sure there's kids out there. You find the next potential. You find that 5-star kid that's #1 quarterback in the country out of these schools in Florida, IMG Academy, California, some of these top schools that are nationwide top schools every year. I can't find it hard to believe that they're getting paid 6 figures or more. And to move states, to go to a state that does allow NIL, why would they not? I mean, there's been kids over time, and I brought up the one from Scranton that did it illegally, or not Scranton, but my area that did it illegally. And now, if you could do it legally and benefit from it, you're not just going to a better football team, you're going to make money.
For you
and your family.
Absolutely. And it's a no-brainer. And that's why, again, people want to know why we can't compete at Wisconsin anymore. Yep. It's all about money. That is the major factor. The boosters, the NIL, the money. We can't compete with that right now because we don't have that kind of money in the system. We just don't.
Yeah. I know one thing you wanted to bring up. Can non-athletes get NIL deals?
Yes. Can non-athletes. I don't want to come off as someone being ignorant of this, but how? In what?
Maybe
what realm?
Maybe they do really good at their engineering presentation and like at a show and tell or a display, and some company wants to put their logo on. I don't know.
How?
I don't know. All I think about.
I will quote the program. When's the last time 80,000 people came to an event to watch a fucking science project? It doesn't happen.
I hear you. What upsets me when I see that and that comparison of a non-athlete to an athlete is back during our so-called scandal with the shoebox.
Oh, you're scandalous.
The number one thing that they said in that quote-unquote scandal was the only thing, because back then the NCAA compared us to student athletes, to non-athletes, I should say. Let me say this one more time.
Yeah,
compared student athletes to non-athletes. And what the comparison was in the Sunday newspaper, there was an ad from the shoebox that said all students of the University of Wisconsin get 10% off shoes. Mm-hmm. So they did their math versus 10% off, which was what every student got, versus any discounts we may or may not have received, did the math on the difference, and that's how the penalties were given out. Now, our argument with the shoebox was we'd see farmers, everyday blue-collar workers go in there, not be able to afford a pair of boots or a pair of socks or a belt, and he would pull out his infamous Sharpie off the price on the box, write down another price. How does that work? I'd see farmers be like, yeah, we really appreciate it, but it's still just too much for us. We'll get it next time. Take the Sharpie back out, scratch off the price he just wrote, cut that price in half. Does that work better? And I've seen guys go, oh, if you're going to stand by that price, I'll take him today. And that's how he did business. Obviously, we couldn't use that, and I was ready to fight the lawyers that talked to it. I had a lawyer from Southern Illinois start laughing when I told my story to him when I got interviewed. And I said, what are you laughing for? Because I was starting to see red.
Right.
And he goes, oh, it's just crazy. I have family that live down where I live in Southern Illinois that drive twice a year to the shoebox just because of the deals.
Yep.
I go, what the fuck are we doing this for then? But that, once again, the craziness of the NCAA back then, they thought that was a genius idea.
Yep.
Let's give 18 to 22-year-olds $700 a month to live on.
Yeah.
While they're making their schools millions upon millions of dollars.
Yep.
And I'll never forget the 2 Rose Bowls we went to back to back. We brought in a total. Now, granted, we're a member at the time. We were a member of the Big Ten, which I believe had 11 teams in it. But we, as the University of Wisconsin, for playing in 2 football games, brought a total of $25 million into the Big Ten, and we shared bowl game money.
Right.
But there was $25 million to share amongst 11 teams, let alone all the millions that the other teams brought in for the bowl games they went to, let alone all the number 33 jerseys that were worn in the stands, let alone all the sales that were happening,
all the towels,
all the seats that were filled, the concessions that were sold, the businesses that made, but everybody made money except for the athletes.
Correct.
Now it's just let's pay the athletes as much as.
And now it's possible. A free for all.
Yes.
So I think the answer is you have to make it fair. You have to have salary cap, very similar to
you got to put a cap,
because otherwise
it's not fair.
You're going to have this tremendous pendulum that is never going to be caught up because people like Wisconsin, the schools cannot afford that kind of money.
Joe, I was going to interrupt you before, but you were giving such a good talk, and early on in the podcast, we weren't that talkative, and now we are. So now I got to pause and reflect at times. Sure. But when you were talking about the schedule, I was going to say in the Big Ten nowadays is Oregon. Oregon is backed by Nike. Yep. Clear as day. They're not even saying that they're not.
Right.
Nike is supporting Oregon, and that's a team every Big Ten team has to play. How do you compete with Nike? I mean, come on. You need a salary cap. And back to the Saban deal, it's the writing's on the wall. Saban left Alabama, and we brought this up in the past, and information that we've gained through our sources that we know Alabama was paying players way
Bear Bryant era.
Yeah, Bear Bryant era was what we were told, that they were paying players from that era through the current.
Correct.
All of a sudden, everybody gets to pay players.
Yep.
Saban's on ESPN. Saban's sitting next to Pat McAfee. He's done. His legacy is set in stone. He doesn't want anybody interfering with it.
No. Good on him.
It's crazy,
It's unfortunate, but like I said, it's a business, and it's always been a business, but now it's more of a business, and it will continue to evolve until you put a cap on it for salary and otherwise it's just going to be lopsided all the time.
It is. And the last thing that I'm going to say, and then I'm out of info here, is, and this is based off of 2023. In 2023, and I don't know if this was the NCAA or whatever, but I love how they say only 22 athletes nationwide were worth $1 million or more in NIL valuations. Only 22 college athletes that used to be called amateurs are now worth over $1 million. And in 2023, the top 5 were Bronny James, USC basketball, $4.9 million, Shedeur Sanders, Colorado football, $4.7 million, Livy Dunn, LSU gymnast, $3.6 million, Caitlin Clark, Iowa basketball, $3.1 million, and our famous backup QB, Arch Manning, in 2023 was making $2.8 million at the University of Texas to be a backup. And that's just the top 5. And we know if there's no cap, no salary cap, no regulations, those numbers are just going to keep growing year after year.
And then eventually.
And once again, to wrap us up, sorry to interrupt you, it is not name, image, and likeness. Those players are getting paid to put on those school colors, to put on those uniforms.
Very true.
Nobody's using their name. Nobody's using their likeness. They're getting paid that money. Now, maybe they're getting name, image, likeness for other deals they're getting that dollars aren't being shown here. Yeah. But this is how much they're getting paid to play.
Well, kind of like when you go down and, do like a local car shop, like, hey, come on down to Ted's Auto because son of a gun, we got some nice cars here. Like, I mean, honestly, those are the ones you're talking about, right?
That's the name, image, likeness.
That's the name, image, likeness.
This is paying to play.
Oh, it's 1,000% of business. So,
all right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up this episode and stay tuned for the next. You got us on all social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. And we want to thank our sponsors, Pizza Del Rey, located our favorite pizza in the state of Wisconsin, located at 911 North Hastings Way in Eau Claire. They got the frozen pizzas, the pizza buffet. Joe, give me that low bass, that smooth voice.
And, of course, brought to you by Cabin Coffee in Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane. Stop on by, get yourself a nice cup of coffee. And just for one thing out there, too, folks, I just mailed out coffee to Pittsburgh and to Florida. So again, if you want to try some amazing coffee, we talked about how you do that, and get a hold of us. Give me your order. I'll contact you, and we'll get it shipped in the mail.
Sounds good. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of 217 South Mills.
If you like what you heard, smash the like and follow buttons on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and X.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Cabin Coffee Altoona. Tune in next time, folks.